welcome to my channel. Today, as I promised before, I have the opportunity to interview Jayden here, introduce you, who's just about to start on a tour across Canada. And we just chatted a bit before turning on the camera, but we figured, yeah, it's better to turn it on now so you guys will not miss anything. I thank you all for the questions, and I thank you for coming out. I have the tendency to forget stuff when it really matters. So I have a cheat list here that you guys provided me with in part. There's some of the stuff on there that I want to know myself. Let's get cracking here.
Yeah.
So how long have you been dreaming of doing this journey before actually doing it?
Oh geez, it's been years. I mean, the initial idea probably 10 years ago of, one day I'll do the cross Canada tour. But really, it's been about a year since I decided this is what I'm going to do next summer, basically.
To be honest with you, I still have one day stuff. Even though I've done the across Canada and quite a few other things, but it never stops. It never really stops.
No, I'm already planning my next tour after that.
Yeah.
So
the next question is about the bike. What kind of bike are you riding? And
I'm riding a Breezer Radar Expert. I bought it at Red Bike. They were really helpful. Actually, they ordered in a whole bunch of frames, like the large, extra large, so I could test all of those out before I went on my ride. So that's been really, really awesome. It's got a lot of mounting points. As you can see, there's, tons of gear on it. And it handles really well. It's a steel frame, so it absorbs some of the shock. If you have never ridden on steel, it's totally different than aluminum, which is what most bikes are made of these days.
yeah, I can confirm that, absolutely. Now, the question that I have about this bike is, I hope you don't mind me asking, but was it very expensive?
So the bike was, I think it was around 2,000. And then of course a little bit more for, you can see there's fenders, there's a front rack, rear rack, water bottle cages and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that sounds kind of reasonable for what you're getting. So what will you be taking along and how will you pack it all on the bike?
I think it's easiest to describe it in terms of how I have my bags organized. So right here we have clothes. On the other side, we have all my sleeping things, sleeping bag, ground sheet, tent, ground mat, some sandals, lots of water. I can carry up to 9.5 liters. I don't expect to do that most of the time, but if you're really remote, it's important to be able to have that. I'm a very sweaty person, so gotta have lots. I budget about 750 milliliters per hour, so you do the math. Moving on to the front, handlebar bag, keys, phone, wallet, snacks, all of that. Some more water bottles. This is my garbage bag. So dirty laundry, things that just I don't want gumming up the rest of my bags go in there. In the front here, we have food. And on the other side, we have all the utilities like, bike tools, toilet paper, very important. A trowel while we're on that topic. Charging cables, battery packs. I think that's about it. Bear spray.
Yeah, myself, I never carried that bear spray. I was just kind of always praying.
Like I've done a lot of hiking. I've never had to carry, I don't usually carry bear spray, but people told me, I did Calgary to Vancouver last year, and people said like, you really, really need bear spray. And okay, sure, I'll get bear spray. I had 3 bear encounters, one of them with a grizzly about 20 meters away. It looks over, it stands up.
Oh.
This could turn bad really fast. So, I had the bear spray out and I was ready. And afterwards, bear spray.
Yeah, to be honest, I had a couple during this trip, but I just kind of tried to do what the bear is doing, which is ignore each other. And I don't know how safe this is. So I guess the proper way to do this is be prepared.
Yeah. There's also an air horn if the bear spray, some animals like wolves, loud noises might scare them away, whereas the bear spray won't affect them in the same way. So.
Yeah, those air horns, I think they're awesome.
Very loud. Yeah.
Now some people want to know about your drivetrain and the gearing.
Yeah. Okay, drivetrain and gearing. I should know a lot more about this. I'm actually using the stock. It's a 2x10 and it's pretty good. Honestly though, having a 3 in the front would really, really help out just for the big hills. I did the, where was it? It was Creston to Castlegar last year. and we're talking 10-12% grades at the summit of the mountain, which, oh man, you're taking breaks every 500 meters or so. Like as soon as you see shade on the side of the road, take a break, drink some water. Okay, back up we go. So a little bit of easier gearing is advisable, because on the other side of that you have 12% grades, but the 12% grades there are going down, and you're going to max out your drivetrain anyways. You're going to tuck down, and yeah.
Like you got 26-inch wheels from what I can see. Is that correct?
29.
Oh, 29.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
29 by 45. So a little bit wider, because some of the route is going to be on like rails to trails. So you're dealing with a lot of different road conditions or trail conditions. A lot of times I'm hoping for, just packed gravel is really, really nice. But sometimes those can turn into fire roads. They can have ATVs on them, dirt bikes and stuff, so they get quite rutted out and sandy, which the wider tires help. And actually for some of those trails, like the Kettle Valley Railroad and the C&N down in BC, they recommend 2.4 inches, and I'm at about 1.7, I think, is the conversion.
Yeah, my thing with the drivetrain is always like basically the wheel size and how many cogs I have on the smallest gear in the back. So do you know how many yours has?
I really should.
Well,
It's funny, I know a lot about bikes, but when it comes to that, it's like, it rides. And I always joke with people, there's some people, they talk about, getting the weight down, you're going to get the carbon fiber bike and all of this. And I joke that, really just like, we'll give these puppies a workout, that 20 watts will be easy to recover.
yeah, that's right. I mean, you're carrying luggage and stuff. Why would you bother with the carbon bike? I mean, that's just my take on it. And now the next question is about the tires.
These tires are WTB Riddlers. They're tubeless compatible, but I'm not running tubeless. The reason being is that if you're out, say you're in the middle of Northern Ontario, nobody's around, and something goes wrong where you need to get this tire off and put a tube in and things, I'm not comfortable enough in my skills with tubeless to feel confident in that, where changing a tube I can do in 10 minutes. So yeah, I'm just running normal tubes. I'm carrying 3 on me at the moment, but I'll probably up that to 4 for the really, really remote stretches, just because, it's better safe than sorry. Like I'm carrying an extra shifter cable, extra brake cable, derailleur hanger, stuff like that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I found that in Saskatchewan when I did my tour, it was the worst for the tires because
Really?
there's debris, a lot of debris from truck tires, and those the tiny little wires, and they go through bicycle tires like
I
crazy.
should mention, speaking of that, I'm also running tire liners inside my tires, so that I'm not quite as worried about running over a lot of that sort of thing. I use those on my commuter bike, and I find they're really, really successful at stopping flats, even when I'm running some beefier tires like, Schwalbe Marathons and that sort of thing. It just, flats are a pain. Nobody wants to deal with it.
Yeah, especially not in the prairies where it's so windy, then you're just stuck there and at the side of the road, bad spot. So some people ask me about what you might have to say about the budget for such a tour, and I know it can vary greatly. It also depends on how you're going to travel and stuff, and I think there's a question in there too. Yeah, maybe we can combine these questions. It's like, are you planning to camp a lot, or will you spend money on rooms here and there, or maybe all the time? So talk about that a bit.
Okay, so I'm going to need to pull my phone out for this. There's a whole budget that I'm trying to stick to. I'm a pretty frugal, simple guy, so I don't expect a lot of frivolous things. So I've broken my budget down into a whole bunch of categories. So we have food, where we're looking at about $400 a month. Not going to be eating out too often, but I do have a lot of contacts along the way that I'm hoping, if I go out and get groceries, we can make a nice meal, and that'll kind of solve that problem. I'm also not bringing any cookware. It's extra weight, and it just kind of simplifies things. I'll just rough it. It's fine. Lodging, $150 a month. My 4 lodging sort of tiers are friends, family, friends of friends. Then Warm Showers, which is a not-for-profit, kind of like couch surfing, but for bike packers. Really wonderful community, and I've had a lot of really great experiences being a guest and also hosting people through it. After that, we're going to be wild camping, which to find spots on that, I used the Bike Across Canada Route Network, which is a Facebook group that has some GPS files you can download. One of the layers in those is end of day points. So they scrubbed a whole bunch of Strava data to find out where people have stopped for the night. And it's very valuable because in between cities and things like that, you'll see these points, go to Street View, and there's, look, a nice pullout with some trees, and you could, find a quiet spot. Lastly, paid campgrounds, because I think a $30 shower is pretty steep. Moving on, we have maintenance, so about $200 a month. There's a whole bunch of ferries involved in my trip. There's one from Prince Edward Island up to Quebec, to the island of Magdalen. There's a ferry from PEI down to Nova Scotia. There's another one going to and from Newfoundland, and there's another one on Manitoulin Island in southwest Ontario going up to the Bruce Peninsula. So the total cost of those ferries is roughly about $400, $500. We also have a train from Edmonton to Vancouver, $250, and then train from Halifax back to Edmonton, probably going to be about $500, $600. Miscellaneous expenses like hygiene stuff, toothpaste, any other random incidentals, maybe $50 a month, which puts the total cost of the 4-month trip at a pretty reasonable $4,330, according to my spreadsheet.
You're on the ball with this. Like, to be honest with you, I was not very well budgeted and stuff, but I'm just naturally so frugal. I would stealth camp, just as long as the sun was down, and basically I was pretty sure that nobody was going to bother me that night. Spot was good enough. Do you have any fears or concerns regarding this trip?
So this is funny because if you look behind us, you may notice that the downtown looks a little bit hazy. So I wouldn't say it's a fear necessarily, but smoke and forest fires. This year is slated to be the worst year on record for Canadian forest fires. I know that it's been a huge issue and it's come up here and there. I do have a smog mask, and I have a bunch of filters for that as well, some extra ones. So that's kind of my biggest concern is just dealing with the smoke. Other than that, I wouldn't say there's too many fears. It's more of an existential fear of wow, this is a huge undertaking. I hope everything goes okay, which of course it won't, and that's part of the fun. And it's, how do you come out of that and have a good time? Type 2 fun, right?
Do you have any coping strategies for when the going gets really tough?
Just cry if you need to. It's okay. I mentioned Calgary to Vancouver last year, and I'm a very social person. I like to be around people when it's my birthday. A lot of people come around and we do a big thing. But this year I'm biking. I'm trying to get there for my dad's birthday. So my birthday's a few days in beforehand, and I am basically by myself the whole day. And it's a very humbling experience and being lonely and everything. And it was I was totally crying on my bike. It's fine. I felt great afterwards. And I think it's okay to just when the going gets tough, it's okay to lean into that and be it sucks right now, but it's going to be better tomorrow. And always just focusing on the positive elements too, because especially if it's raining all the time and it's smoky, or you're really, really tired and you hurt, it's easy to get bogged down by that. But you have to also focus on, I said, you're going to have so many amazing interactions. You're going to see beautiful scenery. And that's kind of how I go about it.
So you already told me off camera a little bit about your route, and there are people interested in that. And at the same time, how did you research it, and how did you come to the route that you're planning to take? And you think there would be any way that you might divert from that, depending on whatever?
Yeah. So the routes, I'm doing a long route. Most people would just do either Victoria or Vancouver out to Halifax, sometimes to St. John in Newfoundland. So I'm doing Vancouver, kind of noodling through the mountains, going up to Kelowna, taking Highway 6 down to Creston, and then across Highway 3 to Lethbridge. From there, we're trying to get across the prairies as fast as possible, hopefully with a good tailwind. I saw Strava data for a guy who did like 650 kilometers in a day, which was amazing. His little subtitle was 85-kilometer-hour tailwind. Like, all right. So after that, Thunder Bay, we go around Lake Superior. We do all of that, going down to London, go up through Ottawa, Montreal, Quebec City. We're going all the way up the St. Laurent to Gaspé. We're going to zigzag around New Brunswick. There's a few things I want to see. I'm also a musician. I play drums and percussion, and the Sabian Cymbal Factory is in New Brunswick. They're like a world famous, amazing sort of, they make amazing cymbals. So I want to go visit that factory. And then nearby is Fredericton, where a friend of mine I went to college lives. From there, we go across to Prince Edward Island, explore there for a few days, go up to the island of Magdalen, which I mentioned earlier, which is kind of a giant sandbar out in the middle of the ocean, north of PEI. You should go check it out on a map. It's like totally surreal and will probably be like under the sea in 50 years. Back to PEI, and we take a ferry down to Nova Scotia. We go across east to Cape Breton Island, up through the Cabot Trail loop before catching a ferry to Newfoundland. Going to do the whole trip across Newfoundland. I'm debating if I'm going to go up to Lancel Meadows, which is the first European settlement in Canada from the Vikings in the 900s. That's 900s, not like 19, but like cool. The downside, talking about how it's from the 900s, it's 900 kilometers round trip. So you do the math, even on 125 kilometers a day. From St. John's, we basically go to Halifax, hang out for a few days, and then catch the train back. So that's the route. It's quite long. It's going to be about 11,000 kilometers. And the other question of how did you decide to do this? Why didn't you just do point to point or something like that? And the answer to that is that I want to see a lot of people that I know across Canada. I've been a musician in Ottawa with the band of the Ceremonial Guard. From doing that band and playing as a military musician, I've met people from across the country for playing in different orchestras and stuff like that, going to school across Canada. And I thought it would be a really unique opportunity to be able to reconnect with those people. So it definitely adds a lot to my trip, but it's just so amazing because even I made a post about this on Facebook with some of my itinerary, and I said, if I forget to message you, please get in touch, because like I have my list, but there's so many people I'm going to forget. And people on my list who I didn't message yet messaged me first. And it was just kind of a cool, like, makes talking about like the fear and working through it and stuff. It's like the daunting task of this huge trip, but then knowing that you have this great support network of people who are like rooting for you and everything. So that's really important.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. My own question is, how many days do you think it'll take you? Because that's 11,000 something kilometers. The reason I'm asking is I did the similar tour in 2017. Mine was only 9,400, close to 9,500 kilometers. There were some days of interruption in there, but the longest I stayed in one place was 4 days, which was the house, and it took me 100 days.
Yeah. So that sounds about right. I'm budgeting 4 months. So I figure 3,000 kilometers a month is, if we're doing 100 kilometers plus a day, and then, if you're thinking like 5 or 6 days of biking, a day or two of rest, I think I'll be kind of in that ballpark. I mentioned the 650 kilometer day on the prairies. Well, if that tailwind turns into a headwind, now you're battling, and 60 kilometers in a day is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. So we'll see if the plan works.
You'll have days where you think the plan works beautifully, and then the wind shifts, and like I could tell you from experience, there'll be ups and downs for sure. Now, someone wanted to know if there were any serious life events that have led you to undertaking such a big tour. And I think we already heard some of it, which from what I could hear was all very positive stuff. But, maybe there's something other.
Serious life events. Gee whiz. That's a heavy question. Oh, man. I'm trying to think of like, I don't think I would say that there's any life events that were the single reason. I think it was a combination of things. I mean, I love cycling, I love exploring and adventure, and I've done tours before, but a lot of this really started last year. I was supposed to do a cross Canada concert tour actually with another musician in town, And for a lot of reasons that didn't work out. And I already had budgeted the time, and I thought, well, now since that's not working out, maybe I can rejig some of the planning and routing and whatnot, and still kind of undertake this. I just want to inspire other people to go and, go do something that you think is like beyond your ability and scope and all of that. And like I said, I've done other tours, and like there's been super hard days. There's been like days of extreme agony, but there's also been the most amazing experiences. And it's kind of like being in love in a way. And part of like that love involves like the highest highs, but knowing that there's also some like lowest of lows that come along with that. And you can't really have one without the other, even though we want to.
Bicycle touring is also addictive, and
Oh, yeah.
once you experience that, you almost start to think you haven't lived unless you've been on a tour.
Yeah. I can say to that too. So my first tour, and this is, I think, the easiest way, and like it's just a great way. If you can, go to the Netherlands and like just you're going to be in this city, you're going to rent a bike, and you're just going to go somewhere, 60, 80 kilometers away to another town. And then you'll go to another town and you'll do a little circuit, and you'll find it's like that's really the first time I went touring. And I think because it was such a easy, positive experience, it really opened my eyes into like how I saw the world changed a lot on that trip. But I didn't even realize it at that time. It wasn't until a lot later. When it kind of sunk in. And I think that's the biggest thing, is it really gives you a different perspective. It's not fast traveling. It's really slow, and it's also one where you're so in tune with the environment. And I remember going through France, through these fields of lavender, and like all you could smell is lavender. It was incredible. And yeah, I think just go out and do it. Go camping, just buy a trailer and throw all your stuff in, figure it out.
Hey, the last question.
Yeah.
Do you have a blog or a channel where people can follow you? Because you said you were hoping to inspire people, and that's a big one for myself also, as you've maybe seen in some of my videos. But yeah, I'll post a link down below in the video, so if you have one.
So I'm not 100% sure right now where I'm going to be posting all of that. I've just been posting like publicly on Facebook when I think there's something cool to share. But I've had people who are like wanting me to do like a blog post and stuff like that. I'm currently, which is funny, I leave in about a day and a half. Although I have a lot of time. This is actually one of the things I'm figuring out over the next day, is the best medium to do that. It'll probably be on my website, which is Jayden Beaudoin at just .com, JaydenBeaudoin.com. And I'll probably just put a little blog tab on there, and go through that, just because I think that makes it a good, like, easy to access sort of thing. Although with social media, everybody wants the instant, like, right now sort of thing, which I'm just not into. I can't do it, I tried the Instagram thing and all of that.
Well, see, I have done that tour in 2017, and it was just, I guess, sometime last year that I finished making all the videos about it. And my YouTube stuff has come so far that I really get upset when I see the footage, because I know now, I learned so much that I know that it could have been so much better. But yeah, well, thanks again for coming out, and I wish you all the best, happy trails and all that. And I'll be checking out your website for sure.
Awesome.
And yeah, hopefully we could maybe do this again after the tour when you're all done, and
a little debrief.
Then, you'll have some insights maybe that you didn't see coming, and you never know what happens along the way on such a big tour. It's a long time.
That's the other cool thing, is you don't know what's going to happen, and it's going to give you insights. And I was talking to a good friend of mine. He lives half a year in Edmonton, half a year in Comox on Vancouver Island, and I was talking to him about some of this, and he said, like, yeah, just go do your tour and let life like give you what you need out of it. And I just thought it was such cool advice. The last thing I'll mention, just in terms of some of the things people were asking me earlier about, what am I bringing? And there's two really cool things that I didn't mention. Number one is I'm bringing a little frame drum. so I have something to do at night once I set up my tent and like before I go to bed. And number two is I'm bringing a little camera. So I think it's important to have those ways to keep yourself entertained. Also to be able to learn and develop a skill. I do a lot of drums and percussion, but I've never really gotten into the frame drumming. So I figure, you know, you can kind of combine a lot of things at once. So there we go.
Awesome, and thanks again.
Yeah, and I hope to see you all in 4 months.